This week on Worldwide Gaming, Damian reviews Shovel Knight. We look at the top 10 Final Fantasy characters. And Vince takes us through the history of the Grand Theft Auto series. Hello and welcome to Worldwide Gaming. I'm your host Ryan.
I'm Lysander.
I'm Vince.
And today we're actually going to look at some of the top 10 Final Fantasy characters that we've chosen. I've got a bunch of favourites in there. I know that you've played a lot of the Final Fantasy series.
Yeah, I've played a majority of them, but number 7 is my favourite, and I'm very happy with this list.
Yeah, I think we've established that you were a 7 guy, I'm an 8 guy.
Yeah.
Have you played any of the Final Fantasy series?
I know that Cloud exists.
That would be good for the top 10, I guess.
Cloud, Lightning, Snow, their names just get better and better, I swear.
I just figured that out. I never knew that till now.
Precipitation.
I never put linked them together like that.
Oh, dude.
Man, I'm stupid. All right. Right now, though, we're going to the forecast.
The sun is reflecting off the hoods of the hyper-realistic cars in the upcoming Project Cars. Coming in 2015 to PC and current-gen consoles, this game is looking pretty hot. We've given it a 2. The strange fog covering the town is warm in Silent Hills. Coming soon to PlayStation 4, this new installment is looking to make us pee our pants with joy and fear as we give it a 2. This new Metroidvania-style game, Axiom Verge, is looking to fill our shooting and platforming needs. Coming in 2015 for the PS4, PS Vita and PC, we're pretty excited for this one, giving it a 3.
So, Vince, have you seen much about Project Cars?
Not much, really.
I got to see it a couple of months ago, and it looks really good. The main thing about it is it's so customizable. You open up kind of AI sliders.
Oh, wait, yes, no, I have seen Project Cars. I've seen one play it.
There's about 100 sliders you can mix and match. You can make AI more risk-taking or more cautious or
That's
stuff like that.
That's
Yeah, and that pretty much goes through everything, the weather effects and the car. You can go through and tune your cars and stuff like that. I don't know if you'd be interested in that kind of stuff.
What I saw was pretty interesting, and then is it just PC, or is it
PS4 and maybe
Xbox?
other consoles as well?
Okay, well, if it's on Xbox One, I'm definitely looking to get in it because from what I saw, it looks pretty cool.
All right. What do you think about Silent Hill?
I definitely had a look at it, and I'm not someone who's really been big into horror games or even into the Silent Hill games, but it definitely interested me. I'd like to take a closer look.
I found it interesting that they casted Norman Reedus as the main character, which is kind of a little bit weird because he had his own game when The Walking Dead show came out, and that was kind of a massive flop. And then they just kind of recasted him as the main character, and everyone knows him. He was in one of the Blade movies as one of the little guys, but then he was in The Walking Dead. Everybody knows him from The Walking Dead. And then I saw the trailer, I'm like, is it I see Walking Dead when I see this guy. Is this a part of the show now? I know it's not, but it was really trippy.
All right. Coming up next is we have the Shovel Knight review, and you've played it a bit. It's kind of a kind of retro inspired,
Yeah.
but actually done right, I believe.
Yeah, actually done right as opposed to there's a lot of that sort of retro, going back to the roots sort of talk these days. But this is definitely one game that's gotten it right and done it really well, with some really interesting mechanics and sort of very heartwarming. I thought it was really cute.
All right, sweet. Let's check out Damian's review right now.
Shovel Knight is the story of two legendary knights, Shovel Knight and Shield Knight. Upon one of their journeys, they enter the Tower of Fate and come across a cursed amulet. Shovel Knight awakens later to find the Tower of Fate has been sealed and he has lost Shield Knight. With two adventurers out of the way, an evil enchantress and her Order of No Quarter seize the land. Now with the tower unsealed, Shovel Knight sets off on a new adventure. Harkening back to the late 80s and early 90s, Yacht Club games have channeled the platformers of old to give the more seasoned of us a trip down memory lane, and the younger of us a look at how hardcore the days of NES and SNES platformer were. Yacht Club games have nailed the 8-bit look with Shovel Knight, and it stands as one of the few games to take on the retro fad and do it right. Shovel Knight's level design is immaculate, simultaneously blending themes you would recognise from the 8-bit days and fresh elements to take on all newcomers. They're jam-packed with hidden areas to find, as well as requiring feats of skill to pass that will stand the test of time. There is plenty of environmental variety to be found as well, as you trek from a volcano to a frozen ship to a dark tower and beyond, each with their own inherent dangers and challenges to overcome. Each level is tied together by a very Mario-like overworld map. As you may have guessed from the title, your weapon of choice is a shovel rather than the sword that the mind evokes when hearing the word knight. It seems an odd choice of weapon, but you'll quickly come to realise the truth. Shovels are pretty badass too. It's without a doubt the most useful tool in the game, allowing you to tackle enemies as well as dig for gems and other goodies, but it's not the only tool available to you. Much like the older platformers Shovel Knight models itself on, you'll find yourself picking up new items called relics to help you in your battle. From the fireball spewing flare wand to the traversal aiding propeller dagger, you'll never be wanting for the right tool. You'll also gain access to permanent upgrades for your shovel throughout your adventure, such as different attacks that will help you from afar to attacks that will destroy an enemy in a single strike. Controls are tight, which is essential for platforming. You never want to be in a situation where you feel the game has cheated you by not responding to a timely jump command. Some of the armors can affect the responsiveness of controls, with heavier armor making it harder to slow down, but once you adjust you'll be back to platforming like a pro. Like many platformers, it's best to play with a controller in hand. Having said that, the default up plus X on my 360 controller felt cumbersome to access my relics, and I found it much more natural to swap this to one of my bumpers. Luckily, remapping controls on the PC is easily accessible through the menus. The enemy variety in Shovel Knight isn't exhaustive, but there's enough in there to keep you interested, and they're all fairly unique. Designs range from the fairly generic blob through to some crazy creations that Yacht Club Games appears to have thoroughly enjoyed designing. The boss designs are all interesting, and there seems to be a fairly clear nod to the Mega Man series, as you'll find yourself battling such creatively named villains as Treasure Knight and Tinker Knight. Each of them has a pattern that may seem unyielding at first, but once learned is fairly easy to slip through and lay the herd down. In a decidedly newer approach, Shovel Knight has a somewhat Dark Souls feel to death. Rather than dying outright and losing a life, Shovel Knight drops currency and it waits there for your return. Be warned though, if you die before you recollect your loot, it's gone for good. While this is a bit of a departure from the NES generation, it's definitely a welcome feature, and it seems like Yacht Club Games have created a much fairer system. While there is no multiplayer in Shovel Knight, the way the game pans out is highly suggestive of it making sense for something like that to be included. If Yacht Club Games ever makes a sequel, I'd really like to see the ability for a second player to take control of Shield Knight for some crazy co-op platforming fun. One feature that seems to be fairly common across recent indie games is killer soundtracks. Shovel Knight is no exception, and the music really nails both the 8-bit style of the game and the theme for each level the game throws you into. Each song manages to feel like it's a fully orchestrated band, rather than your typical minimal synth to get the point through. What would have made this soundtrack beyond amazing would have been a full-fledged band doing some, if not all of the songs. In saying that, you can find a couple of great covers already. Now, if only we could get the developers of AAA titles to consistently include such compelling listening in their titles. Yacht Club Games have come out swinging with Shovel Knight, managing to blend a very accurate homage to the 8-bit era with some modern twists to help make the experience more fun but frustrating. Definitely check it out if you're a fan of platformers or challenging games in general.
Hey guys, enjoying the show? If you want to see what the WG crew are up to, check out our Facebook page. Also on YouTube, we post previous episodes and extended cuts. Lastly, if you're into podcasting, just search WG Cast on iTunes.